Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any visitor comments?
My name is Maria Alt. There is a serious concern with regard to the bathroom usage that has been repeatedly ignored. I have proof of inappropriate and threatening message by Southern Lehigh boys students, which I and other Southern Lehigh parents had shared with the Southern Lehigh School Board and the superintendent that presents a legitimate concern for privacy and safety needs of students. As far as I am concerned, the Southern Lehigh students have been let down and put in harm's way, more specifically the females, by the Southern Lehigh School District's current failed interpretation of the law. The Southern Lehigh School District is breaking federal Title IX law, along with PA Public School Code 24 P-S, 7-740, 28 PA Code 18.62, 25 PA Code 171.16, 35 PS .672 to 680D, and 28 PA Code Chapter 18 by discriminating based on sex with allowing boys in the girls' bathroom and locker rooms and vice versa. Every one of you failed to 1, address and rectify a male being in a private female space. 2, take any action to address an obviously threatening communication. 3, take action concerning disturbing behavior by a male student. Citizens Advisory of PA is an advocate for the sons and daughters of Pennsylvania. I found out that on January 2nd, Citizens Advisory of PA sent legal notice to the Southern Lehigh School District to inform them of their illegal 103.1 policy, amongst other ill-advised policy adoptions. The Southern Lehigh School District clearly disregarded that legal notice, thus allowing for a more hostile environment. Citizen Advisory of PA is seriously looking into litigation, which could cost the school district between $500,000 and $1 million. And it doesn't appear that the Southern Lehigh Insurance Company is going to cover the cost because the Southern Lehigh School District is breaking laws. As a taxpayer citizen, I am very concerned about the school district getting sued. My hope is that the school board will save us taxpayers money by doing the right thing, which is to follow the law in separating bathrooms based on sex. Gender identity is not currently covered under Title IX, even though you all fail to understand that. I have a question. What document is the Southern Lehigh School District relying on to allow gender identity to be a factor in facility usage? Parents and taxpayers of Southern Lehigh, the school board does not feel the situation is important enough to provide us with an answer, even though every taxpayer will be paying for the lawsuit settlement when finalized. As a Southern Lehigh community member and taxpayer, I am requesting for the Southern Lehigh School Board to immediately remove the Southern Lehigh Solicitor Jessica Moyer for failure to lawfully guide the Southern Lehigh School Board on the law as it stands, not an ideological or political interpretation of what you want it to be.
Okay, we have no other visitor comments. Let's have a motion to approve the minutes from the board meeting of January 23rd and the workshop minutes from February 13th, 2023. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Dr. Mayhem, we're going to move to a consensus agenda given the weather tonight. So I'm going to ask Dr. Mahan to make some brief comments and updates, and then we will move on.
Yes, Ms. Ryan, there's nothing of great urgency. I'm very pleased to postpone any comments or presentations. I know Mr. Pepe is very willing to postpone his presentation to maybe our next meeting. So I'm certainly, if there's a motion, a second, if there are any questions, we'd be very happy to entertain them.
Could we just loop back and announce, I don't know, Dr. Mann, if you'd planned to do this, or if our solicitor had announced the executive sessions that have occurred prior to this meeting, immediately prior, and also in other committee and other meetings, if we could announce
Mrs.
those.
Gaiman, that's my remiss. Go ahead, Mrs. Moyer.
Thank you.
Nope, I'm good. I'm good. An executive session was held on February 21st to discuss a legal issue. An executive session was held tonight prior to this meeting to discuss personnel matters as well as a legal issue. On February 21st.
Whatever that, I think it's the two prior facilities, whatever those dates were.
Thank you. To discuss.
I was just saying to discuss. I'm not on the committee. I don't know.
Thank you.
So it was pending legal for facilities as well. Pending legal matters was the topic. Thanks.
Okay, with that, let's move on. Can I have a motion to approve items under 4 through 10? That is the school district calendar. I'll briefly summarize. The Unified Champion Schools Memorandum, CLIU 21 Student Driver Education Program Agreement, ETS Education Testing Service College Level Examination Program, the E-rate infrastructure upgrades, the Data Center Virtualization Project, the bills list, the corrected treasurer's report, the treasurer's report and investment report for January 2023, the property tax refunds per the attachments, the general fund and academic center budgets for LCTI, Lehigh County Career and Technical Institute, for 2023 to 2024, the energy electric supply agreement with WGL Energy Services effective 2/21, the attached escrow agreement in connection with the subdivision and land development improvements agreement, the change order request for additions to the bleacher layout, the first reading of policies 200, 202, 204, 217, 221, 223, 251, and 810. The second reading for policies 000, 001, 002, 3, 4, 5, 006.1, 006, and 007. The second reading of retired policies 12, 16, and 19. And the personnel items presented in the Human Resources Report. Need a motion.
So moved.
Okay,
Could-
any comments or questions on those items?
Could I ask that there's a CLIU driver's education program agreement that is on here? I know the community had reached out with questions about that. If that is not critical to approve tonight because we are trying to move things along due to the weather, could we postpone or table that unless it's critical tonight, just so we have the opportunity to explain to the public and the board what that is? I don't
I
recall.
think we can very briefly explain that.
Perfect.
Dr.
That would be
Mahan?
great. I was trying to expedite, but yes, thank you.
Sure. Mrs. Gaiman, I did actually receive a question on that from our board members. I'll begin by saying that it is my understanding that's a long-standing motion that comes from the IU. At least we approved it last year. It was something the IU sends to us. It wasn't something we really sought out. And this is not an effort in any way to modify for this year, our meeting in the coming year, 23-24, any of the services we offer with respect to our driver ed. As I understand it, this is just additional services that will be available to our students should we need them. And absent our approval of this, they would not be allowed to utilize those services at the IU.
Okay, so it's an additional opportunity for students, but in no way impedes our current programming or staffing or payment for what we're currently doing.
No way whatsoever. No changes are anticipated in academic year 23-24 with respect to our driving program.
Thanks for that explanation.
Any other comments or questions on the motions?
I was going to add, I think you mentioned this, but I believe this has been in place for about 6 years, because I remember back probably 2 superintendents ago, it was something that came to the board for approval at that time. Is that correct?
And I don't know how far back it goes, But certainly in my time, this has just come from the IU. We put it on as a matter of form uh, and substance, because I'm not sure exactly how much it's used, but it's an available service to us that we're not at all compelled to use in any way.
I had a question about 9C, the bleacher.
Yes, Dr. Suri.
So, I mean, could we just have a little bit more background on it, I
Yes.
think, for the public's
I
information
will
as
give it a
well?
try. I will give it a try. As the board will recall, we received some designs originally from an architect regarding plans for the track. And those plans created a wider track that was less elongated, more round, which resulted in a need to move the bleachers back because the bleachers were closer to where the track was closer to where the bleachers were. The facility committee, in consultation with our new contractor, looked at that design and said that would be very expensive. Yes, there would be some benefit, but there would also be some drawbacks to it. And namely, one of the drawbacks is that by pushing the bleachers back to accommodate the new shape of the track, the bleachers would abut against the building that is currently behind the bleachers. And to accommodate that, the design of the bleachers had to cut out an actual section of the bleachers, eliminating what would normally be seats to kind of build around the building that was back there. Well, once it was realized that the bleachers could be moved back, or didn't have to be moved back, because we decided not to incur the added cost of that design, and we wanted to stay with the same footprint of the current track as it's out there. It occurred to our engineers that there really is no need for that cutout because we're no longer abutting the building. And so because of the added, so we're recommending, instead of having just a cutout essentially now for no reason, we're recommending that the added cost of all the aluminum that goes into that cutout area to, have a standard bleacher instead of a cutout bleacher that adds, I think, about 240 seats to it. So that's the purpose behind it. It is a result of no longer needing a design. I certainly defer to Mr. Pepe and the members of the committee to, improve upon my explanation.
The other thing that I would add to the building we're talking about is what is the concession storage stand currently. At some point in time, it's very possible, likely, that that building may come down for a variety of reasons. And when it did, then you could certainly fill in that gap at a substantially higher cost than what we're talking about now. So one, aesthetically, the bleachers will look complete because there'll be no notch. We also gain 240 some seats, which is a definite plus. 200, was it 250?
250, which will bring it
Okay.
more in line with the total seating capacity around 3,000.
Right. So overall, instead of 600 some seats, we're going to be about 850 seats with definite plus.
Additional seats. Is what-
Additional
what-
seats,
yeah.
yes. And it just sets up better for the future as far as not needing to fill something in that would be probably 150,000 at that time versus what it would cost today.
So then what was the cost of the other plan, I guess, before it got modified with respect to the shape? Like when you were talking about the first, I'm just wondering what the differential is, I
Well,
guess. And certainly I'm glad we're
yeah.
gaining
No, I
seats,
think-
but I'm just,
Yeah.
If I can just add into
Yeah.
that because of the finances. Basically, the other one was already included because that's what was spec'd out.
okay.
So that was basis of design, included the U cutout because of the building.
Okay.
So this is completely additional. So our choices are, we could do nothing
Mhm.
and we have no incurred cost, but we're going to end up with bleachers with the big U cut out
Right.
for no reason. So the other point that was made clear when we had discussed it, originally part of the intent of modifying the stadium area was to try and gain seating.
Right.
So this allowed us to pick up the additional seating, plus it allows us to have a design that's more in line with any stadium, because the only reason why you would have a cutout is to go around something like that. And the other piece of information for the board that's in front of you tonight on the dais is I looked at the project budget report to give you an idea of where this change order would stand in magnitude to the entire budget. And as you can see, the change order breakdowns, you see underneath a couple in yellow. And the first one was the soil erosion control measures. That's currently being worked on by the engineering outfit from AFOA that they brought on board. So we're expecting that cost may come down. But even if we were to incur that cost today, along with the other change orders in totality, we would still have an available balance of 700,000.
Okay.
So we're nowhere as close to problematic approving the change order as far as overall budget.
So you're still within the contingency.
Oh,
plan,
absolutely.
essentially. That's
Yep.
what this
Yeah,
shows
because
me
all
very
you really
nicely.
need to look at is the top line. I
Right.
just tried to streamline it. Original budget, contingency, available funds. Project total would be where we would be today if we approved all the change orders.
Okay.
Okay, so we're still comfortably within budget.
And we've also recently lowered through discussion the cost of the ball netting, the control. It's been halved from initially almost 110,000
I'd
to
like to hear
about
that.
55,000.
That's nice.
And
That's a good point, because if you look on that, you'll see the Southern Bleacher, it started out $85,000. We got it down to 79,000.
Right, and here's the
So that's why there's a
250.
line through in the other number.
Thank you. I appreciate the document.
Yes, Mrs. Gangwer has a question too.
My question is, I thought that the way the old track was designed was going to make the new track that we were building a little bigger and a little better. If we are changing the track design, are we just replacing then what we currently have with new and not making any other changes to the track?
Yes, the current footprint of the track is what we're using for the new track. Now it'll be very much upgraded, but the footprint is the same, essentially the same.
Is that difference just, it was trying to stretch in a longer track to try to fit in more lanes, perhaps 8 instead of 6? Am I recalling that correctly?
That is correct.
Okay, so instead of the trying to fit in an 8-lane track without moving, well, an entire middle school building, which is not possible, we're just changing the shape, the oblong shape of the track so that it will still be a 6-lane track instead of a proposed, they were trying to squeeze in an 8 and it just
I
wasn't.
think the best way to understand that is we're not changing the shape of the track. The track is going to pretty much look like it does now.
Yeah, and the change
The
order
dr-
was they
the
were
original
trying to.
drawing had it more round.
Yeah.
Which made it wider.
Gotcha, for the 8 lanes, gotcha.
Substantially more expensive, way more
Yeah.
expensive.
Okay, thanks. That makes sense.
Okay, any other comments or questions on the motions presented?
I just had, could someone refresh me on the escrow agreement between Suddenly High School District and Upper Saucon Township? I just can't
Yeah.
recall if that's been previously discussed or
Yeah.
kind of give me a reference point.
Basically, it works like a developer's agreement, and that's the intent. I don't think it's really appropriate for the school district to have to escrow, but until they change that, we do need to escrow. So what we're simply doing is setting aside the $1 million. Originally, it was higher. We talked to them, reached out through our attorneys. The attorneys worked on it. And what basically we do is we put an escrow out until the project is completed. As we get further through the completion, they'll start releasing the escrow back to us. So I even add it through our attorney to make sure that we get interest on the money that's sitting in the escrow. So it's not going to cost us anything other than we have to park the money with the township. It stays in the same bank, as a matter of fact.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Thanks for that. And this is just due to stadium construction, but we're still going to be earning interest on the money through that. Thank
That's
you.
correct.
Thank you for making that change. Appreciate it. Thanks for the explanation.
Mr. Deming, we took agenda items 4 through 10 together, and I saw you have a pile of policies and procedures there, which are included. Do you have any questions or comments on the policies and procedures presented? Okay, thank you. All right. Any other comments, questions? Okay, let's move on. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motions contained in agenda items 4 through 10 are approved. We are going to table tonight the committee reports and the curriculum committee discussion until the next meeting. And with that, I'm going to ask if there's any post-visitor comments.
Hi, I'm Maria Alt. I'm going to let you know about the truth of the case laws and what's going on. Last year, Biden gave the U.S. Department of Education 100 days to update Title IX policies to include gender identity by way of Executive Order 14021. There are multiple steps in attempting to change a law, and Title IX has still not been changed. Title IX, as it stands when it was first originated, is based on sex, not gender identity. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals sat en banc sided with the school board for doing the right thing, which was separate bathrooms based on sex. They ruled that the policy was not discriminatory, did not violate the Equal Protection Clause, and did not violate Title IX. We are unpersuaded by the dissent's argument that the district court could make any factual finding to change an individual's immutable characteristic of biological sex, just as the district court could not make a factual finding to change someone's immutable characteristics of race, national origin, or even age for that matter. Title IX prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex, but it expressly permits separating the sexes when it comes to bathrooms and other living facilities. When we read sex in Title IX to mean biological sex, as we must, the statutory claim resolves itself. Now let me tell you about the Third Circuit. Very important information. The Boyertown case was a 3-judge panel and not en banc. The Third Circuit has not ruled that schools must open bathrooms and locker rooms to the opposite sex. The Third Circuit does have precedents that permits schools to open bathrooms and locker rooms to the opposite sex if they choose to do so. The Third Circuit denied the request by the students who wanted the court to require the school to return to separating facilities based on sex, but the Third Circuit did not go further or prevent schools from choosing to separate privacy facilities based on sex. The school district contends that barring transgender students from using privacy facilities that align with their gender identity would itself constitute discrimination under a sex stereotyping theory in violation of Title IX. We need not decide that very different issue here. So I'm asking you again, and I would like an answer tonight. What document is the Southern Lehigh School District relying on to allow gender identity to be a factor in facility usage? Anyone? School board, you need to fire the SL solicitor, Jessica Moyer, and prevent taxpayer dollars from being spent on a lawsuit. Please motion today to follow federal and state laws and PA school code, which all separate privacy facilities based on sex.
Are there any other visitor comments? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We're adjourned.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Kyle. See you later.